Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday. And today is awesome because, I get to discuss a lot of things dealing with multiple sclerosis on the larger front, right? It is, so it's honestly one of my favorite new days that I get to work on. And honestly, this week is pretty crazy considering the two news reports I saw. One definitely is very it is pretty hard hitting, and of course if you've followed updates or any updates or any advancements in MS therapies and drugs, one definitely hurts. And the other one, I think the other one is almost like clickbait, uh, because something just tells me, because my phone was listening to me speak pretty much about the previous things that happened. It pretty much spit out this report, so I'll start off with that over there. So with that being said, I will the first one talks about the fact that cold weather, while it cannot lead to a relapse, it does end up making symptoms worse, especially dealing with making joints a little more stiff, definitely making limbs a little more stiff. And of course, I honestly feel like this is a clickbait article because it literally said a lot of the things that I was talking about. But nonetheless, I will share that link so that you can read it. And honestly, I do have other examples of it. I do remember when I was studying in college, a lot of times, even during the winter, and my dressing sense would not change, my fashion would not change, um, regardless of the season. So I would always wear a t-shirt and shorts. And the one thing I did realize was that when it would get cold, my fingers would type messages a lot more slowly. And back then, especially in my first and second year of college, and even my third, I was using a BlackBerry Curve. And the BlackBerry Curve did have buttons, so I could tell that at certain points that my fingers were typing out, or at least my thumbs were typing out messages a lot slower than when it would be a little warmer. So it's not something new. I do know that it happened before, and obviously because it happened again on my travel, I think me repeating that just made my phone just say, okay, fine, let's just give him that clickbaity article. And maybe it was even written by AI for that matter. So that one is one thing. Now the second one, which is way more important, is regarding a certain therapy that was showing a lot of promise. And yes, I'm talking about the second trial of PIPE 307, which actually concluded that there were no benefits of taking that therapy. Now, what does that mean? That pretty much the first thing is that, okay, a lot of people which were relying on PIPE 307, now they'll have to maybe put their eggs in another basket, hopefully think of other things or research other therapies that are for MS that are currently under clinical trials, and all of those are under development for that matter. So that is there. And of course, considering there was a lot of weight being put on it, a lot of people were looking forward to PIPE maybe getting some sort of approval, some sort of good news coming behind it. I mean, this comes as a very sad thing for all of them. And honestly, for me, I, didn't do a lot of research while PIP 307 was being conducted. So, I don't have any initial thoughts about it, but I may, when, such a, therapy which was slightly on the more novel side and definitely showing promise, um, when it, does not pan out, I mean, obviously, there is not only the money that has maybe gone down the drain, but a lot of people's hopes, right? And the only thing I can tell them is, I mean, there will be a brighter future, right? There will be a day where we'll be able to do all of the things that we might not be able to do today, right? And a lot of times it you know the maybe and thinking positively, we might even find a cure one day. But honestly, the best thing I can say is, there is still going to be research, there are still going to be a lot more companies that are going to happen, and a lot more companies that are going to research on specific things, so that there is one day going to be something that we can rely on. And there are a lot of other things happening on the other side that definitely might also might end up sharing the space with MS. I mean, one thing I definitely know that they are changing DNA sequences using CRISPR. And with CRISPR, they did showcase that HIV can pretty much get eliminated from someone's body. Maybe something similar can happen, and literally for anyone to pretty much undergo a therapy and literally have MS as a condition just being eliminated from a body, that might be you know a it might not be a reality today, it might not be a reality tomorrow, but the whole point is we do not lose hope, right? I mean, um, I do remember um, the day one the day after or the day of being diagnosed, I could not sleep that night. And I remember because I was tossing and turning. It was a very warm night. um, couldn't sleep. Got out of the room just because I felt very stuffy inside the bedroom. And so I just lay down on the sofa and just thought that maybe I needed a little more solitude to kind of deal with everything I was feeling, right? Because at that point in time I was also going through a relapse, so honestly I wasn't feeling that great. And I think just staying up all night also got me a little bit sicker, which in essentially just ended up creating a bigger relapse. So with all that being said, I do want to just tell everyone that this is not the end. um, there is going to be something better that's going to come out. And honestly, the best thing is try to focus on staying positive, right? I think that is probably the best thing we can do. And honestly, I'd say that on a daily basis. I mean, there is no such thing as, oh yeah, tomorrow is going to be a brighter day, so I'm not going to tell anyone to think positive or any of that. So yeah, I mean, do always think positive, always try to put a smile on your face regardless of whether there are smiles on other people's faces, because um, the happier you feel, I think the more your mood lifts. And um, honestly, I think a huge part of all of the things we're dealing with, it's also you know being created from the brain. And the more we can um, confuse our brain into thinking that, oh yeah, there are endorphins flowing through us, we're totally fine, there might be a chance that we do trick our brain and actually feel a lot better and even perform a lot better. So that being said, this was Narain's Life with MS. I am Narain. So I hope you enjoyed today's session of Friday Findings. And if you're thinking, yes, I forgot the name of the series, so I waited all the way until the end to actually say it. Uh, and yes, have a great night. I hope you're all ready for the weekend because, it's here. So, good night, everyone, and hope you have a great evening and a great weekend.